Hello. Is it audible?
Yes.
All right. So good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Navaneet Deshpande. I welcome you all to the Healthcare Operations Management subject. In all, we have 10 sessions. Normally on Thursdays at 7:30, we are having the sessions on Healthcare Operations Management. Today's agenda will be introduction about the Healthcare Operations Management. So hope you're able to see the screen.
Yes.
All right. So let me begin with giving an introduction. As we all know, that hospital is a highly challenging workplace. There is a hectic schedule for all people working in the hospitals. So there are numerous bottlenecks that deteriorates the productivity and efficiency of the healthcare services which are delivered. There may be hitches in administrative positions. There may be miscommunication, or there is a lot of gap between the nurses, doctors, and various people within the hierarchy. So healthcare has to take care of not only medicines, but it has to take care of allied services along with that. One of the most interesting things is every hospital wants to maintain its brand reputation on how quick they can resolve the issues without compensating with the quality and patient satisfaction. So at the end of the day, spontaneity is what is required for all the hospitals, so that they cannot have to really enter into any entanglement, because untangling the situation will only uh, be possible only if the team is good. So the formation of the team has to be really good. They have to choose expert people and people who are qualified in order to deal with the administrative positions as well as financial positions. So operations management team is responsible for managing all the operational process of the hospital, in which it includes clinical and non-clinical departments to have a smooth working environment. So having said that, we will go into the healthcare operations. So what does this essentially mean is it includes all the administrative duties, it includes financial, it includes legal and quality improvement procedures, so including compliances and certifications thereof. So it covers an entirety for all the processes of the hospital, which covers the particular entity called the hospital that are necessary to run its businesses. Okay, nowadays it is treated as a business, not just social service. In the previous generation, possibly the hospital will be taken care by the governments, but these days private hospitals, more or less, it has to be run on business sense, with a lot of core functions become being treating the treatment as well as the payments part of the entire set of activities, right from the time when the patient comes in till the time he is discharged. All the activities pertains to all these sub parts of the operations. So these activities, which are limited to the activities listed in the definition of healthcare operations, include case management. So a file is opened as soon as the patient enters. Every name and registration number of the person is maintained. The mode of payment is entered, and then what kind of precautions one has to take along with care, patient care activities and coordination alongside the business management and general administrative activities are taken care in the healthcare operations. So given to say that most often than not, the doctors will be more focused on treating the customers, in so much so that they will consider themselves as medicos and medicine. So healthcare is just of recent origin, and the term healthcare includes all other activities other than what the doctor takes care, because essentially doctors and nurses are not enough these days. it may be required that previously you may have remembered that there were compounders and assistants to the doctors who used to play a certain role. But even then, when the city grows large and hospitals are also becoming larger, and star ratings like five-star hospitals are being encouraged by the regulators, it becomes inevitable for all the people in order to coordinate and have specific departments in order to attain their own goals and targets. Having said that, some of you who might have already understood what is operations management in the previous semesters may have to simply recap this. Operations management is the design, operations, and improvement of the processes and systems that create and deliver the organization's healthcare services. So, be it a receiving part, be it taking from the ambulance and giving an admission to the patient and taking care of his immediate first aid and dealing with those aspects. Doctor may not be ready at that stage. So many things which has to be done even before the patient is entering has to be taken care by some staff. So the goal of the operations is to more effectively and efficiently provide the healthcare services. The operations management is essential for the efficient functionality and the provision of health services. So let's now try to see the challenges which the hospitals normally face. The efficient operations of the hospital is one of the major concerns of the management team of any organization. It involves multiple departments, numerous activities, and intertwined processes involving of staff at different levels. There may be entry-level staff, there may be middle management staff, and there may be top management staff, including sometimes the board of directors, which often are the doctors themselves who have opened the hospitals. It requires efficient use of scarce resources. As we all know that resources are scarce, not only in a developing country, but even in developed country, to get a doctor's appointment is not at all that easy. So they may have to wait for a certain number of weeks in order to get an appointment finally. But in India, given the number of doctors in specific states, in case of doctors are more, then it will be easier for them to get an access. So manpower is a scarce resource. Even money, material, machines are a scarce resource which requires a huge investment. As a result of which, such diversity, the challenges are also diverse and varied intensity, which requires detailing and working at various levels of organizations. So these challenges have a high impact on productivity and employee morale. It all ends up, deteriorating the employee morale. So to keep the motivation levels high and to encourage them to maintain the potent nature in which they can maintain the momentum of work all the time, regardless of how much shortcomings are there throughout the systems. There may be disconnect, there may be miscommunication, there may be several errors. So all this poses a huge challenge, especially in tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities where hospitals are of a smaller size based upon the bed capacity. Some of the operational challenges that need to be addressed on a priority basis are improve and optimize planning and scheduling. So unless and until you spend enormous amount of time in order to detail the planning charts, flow charts, and work processes and scheduling all the manpower, it becomes a huge utopian task in order to manage all the staff members. So first challenge being planning and scheduling. The second one being bed management, because there are certain number of beds and the days are also limited. We cannot endlessly keep all the patients. We may have to stagger them at various levels, and we may have to intimate them that when is their time for a certain surgery, or when is their exit time, when they can do the checkout. All these things has to be coordinated. So maximizing the bed numbers is very critical, because in India we know that how many beds are still lacking, and despite government assistance and private, we are unable to meet the number of beds per given thousand number of people. So understanding of the inpatient diagnosis and procedures with their cost. So every procedure, right from scanning, MRI scans, X-ray scans, everything comes at a cost which the patient may not know. This is very important to convince them that how much the costs are involved. Next, streamlining and optimizing utilization at the operational theater. So before any operation has to take place, people have to coordinate along with the doctors, the nurses, and the assistants in order to know what all is required, what type of pharmacy, entire set of purchases from the pharmacy and additional things, and how much of insurance is covering. All those things has to be at a given point of time. All the three departments has to synchronously work in order to overcome the cost barriers. And streamlining and optimizing utilization of various assets, including the high tech equipment. Along with that, pricing of every type of scanning is also has to be determined by the panel who is involved in management of the hospitals. Next comes your waiting time for patients at various departments. So that is another challenge, because we whom to give priority, who are facing real critical challenges. Somebody has to take a decision. Every decision cannot be taken by the doctor, because the doctor is there just to come and cure and give the medications. Besides that, there are several other things which left undone until and unless a specific set of collaborative departments are doing it on a real time basis. So wait time for patients at various departments and processes is very crucial. Then medication errors may happen once in a while, for which you may have to receive the briefing from the doctors. The doctors will come and brief them. Despite that, there may be certain errors which one as a human being cannot evade altogether. So one has to overcome such kind of errors and again try to recover the mistakes from what has been already committed. Next comes average length of stay. So for how many days the patient is going to stay, that is also another challenge. He can stay for around 2.5 days or 3 days, depending upon the case, vis-a-vis the cost of the patient, which he can be able to pay this. So all these are some of the challenges, right from smaller hospitals to larger hospitals. More often than not, it is not very profit making in certain cases. But then profit is another thing to run. Just to run the hospital, we need so many staff members, and improvising and optimizing the planning and scheduling, organizing the same principles as you may have come across during the principles of management, right from planning, organizing, directing, controlling. You know, all the same principles are again posing sometimes because of scarcity of resources during time, quality, and delivery times. All this has to be maintained and becomes a challenge. If you have got any questions, kindly type in your questions in the chat box, or once in a while we can, at the end, you can raise your hands. Some of the things may not be clear, but then uh, probably on the portal you can see them quite often. So today's hospitals are, as you can see, patient satisfaction, the NPS score at the end of exit or checkout, patient satisfaction is one concern. Second is technology upgradation. So people have to be trained on the newer technologies as they go on progressing from the previous legacy models, the cloud-based versions, the inclusion of artificial intelligence, then machine learning, blockchain. Each and everything has to be educated. Then comes the personal shortages in terms of the skills. So the department may have shortage of the number of talent pool that has to be addressed. Another thing is, hospital, insurance has to be given some kind of assistance. Then comes regulatory standards, the ISO standards or NABH standards, WHO standards. There are regulatory bodies which one has to comply with. Then comes your maintaining patient safety. So patient safety is of uh, you know predominant importance, and until and unless this is guaranteed by the staff members, then there may be deterioration in the goodwill of the hospitals. Next comes your financial challenges and hospital productivity. Okay, so as you go across, or if you make some case studies, it has been found that the smaller hospitals are not really making a lot of profits. Okay, so the larger the hospitals, they are able to maintain their profitability. So financial challenges and hospital productivity is another concern. So in all, we have seen, to sum it up, patient satisfaction, technology upgradation, personal shortages, okay, taking care of the insurance, then regulatory bodies, maintaining patient safety, and financial challenges are some of the major challenges which every hospital will face. So these are coming under the weaknesses, sometimes threats. So okay, we can see this from a purely from the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats perspective, which are inherently internal and which are external to the organization. So that gives a clear idea of how to conveniently classify them. So let's try and to see on top the financial challenges in hospital productivity. Hospitals are the second most energy intensive buildings after restaurants, and globally healthcare costs are on the rise. So when anybody goes to a restaurant or any kind of hotel, thereby lot of energy is being utilized just to run the organization, as compared to other kind of offices in the entire city. So hospital is basically an energy intensive building. It requires energy not only from normal electricity suppliers. It requires solar energy, it requires wind energy, it may require thermal energy, and in future it may require nuclear energy. So at the same time, the possibility of maintaining the same level of energy because of high critical functions, including certain surgeries and taking care of ACs and day-to-day requirements of providing various facilities, comes at a higher cost of energy. These financial challenges, in addition to the aging world population, especially in developed countries where the population on an average has crossed around 40 and 50, it will add up to the number of people who are going to be employed, and they are putting pressure on the healthcare organizations to do more with less without compromising the quality of care. So hospital productivity is another area which requires to be adhered and addressed to by the people who are working in those concerns or organizations. Second thing is maintaining patient safety. Okay, in cases of sudden outbreak of pandemic, there are risks of infection and as well as potential risks as well as power failure, which the state as well as the country may not be in a position to provide it regularly. So one has to see alternative ways of out coming out of these power failures, and is crucial in ensuring high quality of care and maintaining the organization's reputation. Next comes your regulatory standards. Non-compliance with regulatory standards can lead to disruption of operations, poor quality of care, and safety issues, and substantial fines also. So the government, regulatory bodies, and the local municipality are also trying to interfere in the day-to-day operations and may extract their amount of fines also. So there is no guarantee that despite maintaining all the strictest standards, they will go unnoticed. So at the same time, as energy demand, demand raises, many countries are requiring healthcare facilities to reduce the carbon output. So on top of that, we have got global warming and climatic disruptions which are happening, and that has to be addressed by taking care of like rainwater harvesting, using a latest mode of energy generation, then disposing of waste, and segregating of waste, and recycling. So all these issues are another set of things inside the regulatory standards, without meeting which the hospital may not get significant points in order to get the certification. So also that aspect has to be taken care by people who are newcomers into the industry. Then obviously hospital security. Now when we say that it's not as easy as other normal establishment, hospital it has to be 24 hours a day, just like a petrol pump. There are only two or three organizations throughout the city which are open all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. Majority of them will be the hospitals. Then comes your petrol pumps and pharmacy stores, which they have to guard them all the time, and it requires number of manpower to be increased. So those visiting are often under the great deal of stress when life and health are at stake. Violence, infant abductions, patient wanderings. Okay, people wandering here and there for no good reason, that is also posing as a challenge. And theft of drugs and hospital assets are major concerns. So these are the issues which the larger cities are often facing. So in they may reach alarming proportions if the hospital security doesn't take charge and take an actions against all these things. So these are the issues which the hospital security deals with, and it requires someone who knows the entire management of the hospital. Next comes patient satisfaction. The well-being of the patient is a key to reducing the length of stay and preventing readmissions. So in green hospitals, as of now, there are certain certified green hospitals which require that the patient has to be discharged in an average of 2.5 days. Earlier, traditional hospitals used to leave the patient over a period of say 3 days, 4 days, or even 7 days. But now that has also been significantly reduced. Nobody wants to keep the patient for more number of days. So additionally, patient satisfaction can also affect the hospital's revenue, and number of the time of surgery is also significantly reduced because of advancement of technology. So patient satisfaction is the first core principle on which the entire goodwill of the hospital is being based upon. If the systems are operating poorly or not at all, quality metrics such as hospital consumer assessment of healthcare providers and systems can be adversely affected. So that has to be addressed in each and every case by case basis. Then comes technology upgradation. Technology, as we all discussed, that there could be certain systems which may be incompatible due to advancement of technologies. People have to invest heavily. All hospitals may not be in a position to invest in technology because they may not be able to afford that much. And some facilities using tracking technology originally designed for supply chain management can be useful for them and can make a big difference in lowering waiting times, okay, for the patient. So supply chain management is being applied, operations management is being applied to lower the waiting times and improve the treatment across the continuum of care. Another thing is personal shortages. So most hospitals are seeing their operations suffer as the number of insured patients are growing and the number of specialty doctors and the staffs are dwindling. People leave and go to several other countries. They will get better opportunities having worked 1 or 2 years in a particular organization. So personal shortages, that we don't find an exact replacement of a good, sincere, dedicated, hardworking guy. So personal shortages are there, and a group which has been formed over a number of years may change over a period of time. The same number of people may not be found in the organization over a period of 2 to 3 years because of the availability and growth of the healthcare industry. And then how to resolve these challenges in healthcare? That's another question. So the first thing is administrative team which has been formed, including the board of directors, members, governing body members. They, from the top to down also, they have to play a significant role in streamlining the administrative as well as non-clinical operational process flow. And it requires management skills like planning, organizing, directing, controlling, and you know um, it requires the skills of a manager, the CEO, the MD, and all those positions are there to be taken care of, which doctors normally do not find time. Doctors are more interested in evolving their own specializations in their own particular area in which they have the skills. So the administrative team plays a critical role in order to overcome the challenges. Second thing is ultimate destiny of every hospital is to render quality service at low cost. So cost also has to be reduced. Then only more and more patients will start coming. Otherwise, if it is well known that costs are not being met in a particular hospital, nobody will prefer. Most of them will not prefer to go to a very expensive hospital. The hospital first seeks to find the severity of the issue. Okay, then they frame the methods to approach the problem. Sometimes they are referring to another doctor. Then they may have to shift to another just for one or two tests. If the hospital does not have, let us say, MRI scan, or it doesn't have an X-ray, then the same patient is referred. Then it requires ambulance. Either the ambulance has to be their own or it has to be hired from someone else. So, but the major importance or focus is given in solving the clinical issues by medical departments. So these medical departments, where the hospital seeks expertise to find a persistent solution, making complete change in operations for other non-clinical barriers. So it may not be possible for the hospital to have all the kind of people, all the kind of facilities. It is a utopian thing. It is very highly, you can say it is a dream of every hospital to have everything. Okay, but then there are hospitals which are good in a particular thing. They may be good in certain specific areas like gastroenterology or pulmonology or neurology, but they may not have certain other departments for which they will have to uh, take up the challenge of again shifting the patient to another hospital, and it has to be done along with non-clinical barriers. So clinical and non-clinical issues are there. Then the expert opinion assists in achieving the operational efficiency in maintaining these two things. Okay, because in way between there should not be any disconnect between the two. So operational efficiency will assure that you treat more patients, you reduce the cost, you improve the outcomes. So this is the bottom line of every hospital. Treat the patients more better way, improve the outcomes of better satisfaction, and reduce the cost. These are the triple bottom line for any hospital in healthcare. And as we have seen, coming back to the management field, uh, as we were discussing that from business studies or from principles of management, the same thing is going to be repetitively understood. So you have planning in the first place. You may have to chart out where the patient is coming, where is he taking rest, how he is allowed to take entry, in what queue one has to stand, how many queues have to be there, who will do the entry, who will check in, then who will do the scheduling of who has to take care, how many nurses and doctors are allotted, that scheduling has to be taken care, how many attendants are there. Then comes purchasing, who will purchase what he requires, along with medical accessories and all those ancillary things which has to be given. Then who is going to control all those things? Specific administrative people, along with finance people. Then comes your quality control department, which has to maintain and track each and everything, whether it is fitting as per the standard operating procedures. So these entire thing, along with inventory control, your focus has to be on inventory control now there. So but it has to be people centric, especially the patient centric. So no matter whether he joins as a newcomer, and he joins at any level, whether it is entry level or supervisory level or assistant manager level or even manager level or even at the trainee, the entire focus should be about keeping the patients satisfied, and not necessarily revolving around only the doctors, because doctors, obviously they will be more interested in taking giving medications and giving suggestions and making things, doing especially for the only for the patient. As far as on specific goal is concerned, he will come for visit at around morning 10:30, then again they will visit in the evening. But in between these hours, there has to be some group of people, team formation has to be such that they have to plan, schedule, purchase, control, quality control, and inventory control. All these stages of operations management has to be taken care by the hospital staff themselves. Then comes the general functions and roles in healthcare operations management. So as we are all discussing earlier, that planning is at the core. People have to plan in a very meticulous way, and they should make sure that each and every aspect regarding standard operating procedures, the do's and don'ts, the rules to be applicable, and any kind of precautions have to be taken in specific instances of outbreak of diseases, and all those things. Apart from whether there will be additional number of beds and managing the projects, how many equipments are purchased, whether some equipments are made in India, some have to be purchased from abroad, all those things, because some are not available. All the countries do not have these equipments to be purchased in the first place, and some specialized equipments, it takes years of research and development in order to maintain those projects. So helping to design and develop services, then maintaining inventory through supply chain, it has to be taken care by the healthcare operations management. Optimizing the quality control, right? The quality control department has to keep it right. Then there should be separate quality control department. There should be separate supply chain department. Most of the hospitals, you will not find them as of now. We are just growing at a different pace altogether. Even in foreign countries, you may not get access to supply chain department, but they may have quality control. But then it's debatable issue who is having better quality of output. Then continuing conducting procurement, purchasing, managing the logistics behind the scene, how many people are coming, and just allocating all the things what is required for the entire hospital. Then managing and maintaining the facilities, where parking has to be done, where is the casualty area, where is the receiving area, where is the storage area, how many cold freezers are there, refrigerators are there. Then conducting the enterprise resource planning for the entire enterprise ERP, how to schedule each and every movement of the incoming goods and where they will go, and the flow of the entire set of staff members from certain other gate. Then usage of service lift, each and everything at the time of planning the healthcare operations management, they have to give suggestions, and consultants are there over a period of time having experience. Let's say around 15 to 20 years of experience, you will become consultants in your specialized fields of healthcare operations management, beginning right from beginning as a newcomer into the industry. So forecasting for planning, then planning for capacity development. Instead of 100 beds, you can have additional 20 beds, 120 bed hospital. Then you can move on to 150 beds, depending upon the population there and how much of investment is possible. Then navigating industrial labor relations in case of given salary, ESI, PF, wages, labor, contract staff, regular staff, the entire industrial labor relations. Okay, how many within how many days he is in probation, then how how early he has to be given promotion. All those things has to be a part of this healthcare operations management. Then analyzing the value chain. So at what level, how many times the patient is coming into contact with the staff members, and how many times what we have to offer at every meeting. So at the first time when he comes into the reception, who has to address him? At second time when he asks questions about any kind of diseases, who has to address him? At the third time when he meets about asks about insurance, who has to tell? When he asks about the costs incurred, who has to tell that? All these details cannot be told just by a receptionist in the front desk. It has to be done by some people who are in the knowing of all these procedural requirements. So optimizing resource usage along with the technology. Men have to be seen in the context of technology. You cannot separate the skills of people, and you cannot keep a technology separately. Both the technology and the people have to be seen at the same time. And finally, eliminating the waste and the bottlenecks which the hospitals are facing. There are two things about continuous improvement taken from the Japanese thing, which is hidden in the slide due to lack of space. So continuous improvement has to be done throughout the cycles. Okay, so far we have seen the principles of management and organizing and all have been applied to that. For those of you who might have just recently, I was just talking about how the project management has to be taken, which I suppose there is another subject for you, but it's a part of the entire general roles which are available. So some people may be in inventory, some people in supply chain management, some people are in ERP, some people are doing, the forecasting, which is very, very essential. Then conducting the procurement and purchasing. So each and every role can be played by a given set of people. Maybe multi-skilling. Some people are good at handling two to three different roles, or it is clubbed under his job description. In some other cases, he may be just assisting the main set of their own bosses at different levels of the hierarchy. So it all depends how many people are required for healthcare operations management. But it's a stable job, more or less. It's not. It doesn't have fluctuating suddenly. There is in case of how you have seen in the financial management field, the sudden given targets and all is not like that. Although it is hectic, not that it is not hectic, but they have the certain stabilities there in the job, which requires a lot of skill, dedication, effort, and time, and also maintaining one's own health at the expense uh, of all others, maintaining routine discipline and having resilience. So, general functions and roles of healthcare operations we have just now taken care. Then going beyond that, 10 decision areas of healthcare operations management. The first one is design of services. So it comes under planning, of course. So design of services is very critical. Okay, you may have different models of how to design a specific service. You may have to dismantle the existing service areas. You may have to make modifications. You have to renovate, and you have to do too many changes. It is required over a period of time, as and when the population of the city increases. And there's no hard and fast rule that another floor cannot be built, or another area for emergency services should not be there, or casualty should not be there. All comes at a cost. All has to be having an agreement from all the panel members. It cannot be just suddenly done as it happens in local stores or something. It has to have a scientific angle to that, not just a commercial angle. Then we should have a process and capacity design, right? So various processes are there, and the capacities are limited, and within the capacity, whether to increase the capacity or to expand in another city, or to make a chain of hospitals, all that capacity design or scalability, all these things are another area of concern. Then location and strategy. So most often than not, the ones which are easily seen alongside the expressways, highways are very, very critical, because sudden access is what is required for people who are facing the issues at the certain stage of life, which is obviously not expected. So we find unexpected guests or unexpected patients at unexpected times. So location and strategy, and locating the location strategy, or finding a strategy about a particular choosing of a location itself is a decision making in every case. And then layout design, which is also design services, of course, layout design, and that can be taken care by architects and all the interior designers and all those things. But nevertheless, it's a part of healthcare operation management. Next, human resources and is a part of HRD. Of course, administrative duties and all those things are becoming a part of the entire healthcare operations management. So operations includes not just sales or supply chain, right from the time purchases, right from purchases till the end user allocation towards the checkout is done. Each and everything has to be done, including the staff members, those human resources, selection of good staff members, giving the amount of time for from probation, promotion, human resource, and job, giving them job designing, job enrichment, job rotation, then job description, job specification, entire thing. Human resources is there. Then supply chain management, of course. So the hospital may have to face certain deficiencies because they are in the evolving stage. They have not yet evolved so much that to have a separate department of themselves. Okay, in certain cases, they may lack certain aspects because of the givens. There are certain givens which we cannot have any debatable issue because that is something which we came across. The moment the person joins an industry, we have certain things which we cannot change. It has its own history. So we should know that the hospital should have ideally in a supply chain management department, then which obviously has to handle the inventory management, keeping all the things right from first aid kit to the all the oxygen suppliers, the masks or whatever you call the syringes, all the pharmacy thing. So inventory management on one hand, it has to be given its due importance with for which only the patients are essentially coming there, and then scheduling and then maintenance. So maintenance, every now and then there could be hiccups in terms of the supplies, and maintenance problems are there, energy shortages as we're telling because it's energy intensive. So all these decision making, the entire team has to coordinate, and maybe in subgroups or different shifts for morning, evening shifts, and daily shifts or break shifts. So each and everything has to be decided upon to maintain the optimal level of performance. Then comes to the next stage of our understanding is the strategic decisions. So how to have a goodwill in the market, how we can prove that our hospital is better than the rest of them. So it requires a long-term strategy, a well-chalked out strategy, which tells us that our designs are the most efficient ones, our hospitals are the most elegant ones, and they are the ones who are going to provide us better optimum service. So designing of services defines what is required of operations, and product design determines the quality, sustainability, and human resources put together at the same time. So sustainability issues, like most often than not, we'll have older people, people about senior citizen age, about 60 and all, they always prefer something to be taken care with extra precautions. They need eco-friendly, all the materials to be used. They are more environmental conservative and conscious also. So we have to take care, not from just from babies till the age old people. So at the two extremes of the life cycle of a human being, we should be able to know what are the sustainability issues that is um, cropping up and in the minds of the patient. So and what are those requirements at different levels of taking the treatment. So designing of services requires very conscious, and they have to be aware about providing better and better services as the hospital grows into a well-known center for treatment. Then managing quality, determine the customer's quality expectations. Okay, certain level of group with the purchasing power, they go to a specific hospital because certain other hospital may be very expensive at the last moment when the person is already deceased. He may not be able to afford that much. Just by listening to the prices what the hospitals are charging, they may not be able to withstand such stress. So we should know, determining the customer's quality expectations and able to adjust according to the demand versus supply, and trying to do a trade-off between the two. So it is understanding customer's quality expectations. At what level he is expecting the services to be given to him. Somebody has everything cannot, doctor cannot tell everything. There should be someone who has to determine as to what level of service has to be given to a specific patient. So managing the quality is a trade-off between what is expected versus what is delivered. Establishing policies and procedures to identify and achieve the quality. These policies and procedures for different levels of services, different standards of services are being offered, that has to be segregated into various easily understandable units of services in terms of time hours. Okay, 15 hours of rest or 20 hours of backup of information or emergency or keeping in ICU for certain number of hours. Everything has to be well defined in the first place. So definition of quality, it's very, very and tricky actually. So managing quality, it comes with experience as we go ahead. And just to take care of now the strategic decisions involve the designing of services and managing quality. Then comes your process and capacity design. How is the service produced? And commitment to the service of your specific, as we are telling, have been telling for the latest generation of how much depth, how much technology can guarantee us, and how much we can give the skills, how well we are conversant with the latest technology, the quality, resources, and investment. Then, of course, the location strategy. I don't have to repeat again under the customer, suppliers, and talent. Location strategy, where the hospital has to be, whether it has to be in the center of the city or it should be outside the city to reduce the cost, or it has to be in a place where they should be accessible to all the people of a certain number of group of people, so that a particular area is taken care of, or it should be in whether it should be in a rural area or it should be in a on the outskirts of the city. It all depends upon what is the vision, what is the mission, and what is the goal of these founding members. So location strategy is one thing which the consultants are always there just to identify the location. People are charging heavily as to where the hospital has to be. Okay. Next comes the strategic decisions, layout, that the capacity, personal level, how many people you need for the morning shift, how many people are required, afternoon shift, how many people are required, what should be the level of inventory one has to hold for how many days, for the whether it should be sufficient for the next 7 days or it should be sufficient for the next 15 days or a fortnight. Then determining efficient flow of materials and people, and again flow of information simultaneously, flow of material on one hand and flow of information from another hand. You are all information generators. Your main job is to generate the information and to make it neatly and becomes a database and give it and to the upon the higher levels of hierarchy. So it's all a part and a parcel of a package. Then human resources design, about the required talents and skills. Okay, how many number of years of experience should a department have? A person with 2 years experience in the same team, you should have an expert who is having around 10 years experience. In the same team, you should have another person having 20 years of experience. So a particular team has to be formed. The formation of the team, as some of you may have already studied, forming, norming, storming, performing. So team formation with number of years of skills he has spent in several hospitals, that has to be calculated, and total system design has to be evolved. And then supply chain management. So integrate supply chain into the firm strategy. So supply chain management, right from the procurement stage, the purchases and inventory, storage, utilization, providing it to the end user, and finally how to market that these facilities are available, how to people will come to know. Little bit of marketing, not exactly you can call marketing. You cannot in hospital. We are barred from marketing too many services because it calls in for certain loopholes. Legally, we cannot do that. So it always we can show our we can showcase what our hospital is good at. Okay, but we cannot always keep on doing things what other normal businesses will do. Then determine what is to be purchased, from whom it has to be purchased, and under what conditions things have to be purchased, for how long, who are our regular suppliers. Out of around 10 to 15 people, you'll find up zeroing down onto one or two suppliers only, okay, on who are a regular basis, who can provide us all things what is required for the entire hospital. So two or three major suppliers we have to identify. So that's supply chain management. Then inventory management, inventory ordering and holding decisions have to be done. For how long the inventory has to, what is the FIFO, what is first in first out or last in first out methodology has to be identified. Then optimize the considering the customer satisfaction. You have to take on a scale of 1 to 10. So 9 is better, means he's happy, or anybody telling more less than 9, he is unhappy. So we should know how many people went out happily. Then supplier capability. Okay, then who is on a regular basis, who sends us values worth good quality, who really fakes and doesn't send us, he doesn't comply, and very often there is fluctuation in supplies. So all those ratings have to be given to supplier. We should rate the suppliers based upon his capabilities and production schedules, of course. So at what time what is required, and also production in the sense how it is used in different industry. We are using production in the sense of how the treatment has been handled. Now, scheduling, determine and implement the intermediate and short term schedules also. So on a day-to-day basis, short term scheduling has to be done, right from casual staff, nurses, attendants, room cleaners, each and every kind of people who are taking care of, including the attenders of the patients, who how to deal with the attenders of the patient, how many, what has to be passed, and all those things. Scheduling, like pass, how many passes have to be given, who can be allowed, whether food is allowed from outside the hospital, or food has to be necessarily consumed from within the canteen, whether the canteen is there in the first place or not. And then if the canteen is there, what is allowed, what is given, who is a nutritionist, how much of calories it has to be. Each and everything has to be scheduled, and it has to be coordinated along with the main person who is managing. So utilize the personnel and facilities, and while meeting the customer demands. So every now and then the customer keeps on asking for more and more, but we are having limitation. We cannot assure everything, but we have limitations in which we are functioning, because there are hurdles and restrictions, and there are some constraints based upon certain regulations. Everything cannot be, including the level of noise, including the number of times the attender can visit, the number of times uh, the patients can meet the general public. Each and everything comes in scheduling. So scheduling is not all that easy as in a normal marketing context. It requires too much of planning in detail. Then comes maintenance. Consider facility capacity, and then production demands and personnel. Maintain a reliable and stable process. So stable process is all that what one is looking for. Okay. So the more, the larger the city is, the chances are there that the things may not be stable. But then the city gives us the framework and ecosystem whereby everything is there in the city. It may not be possible in a rural context. So some of the hospitals may go uh, flack on. I mean, they may not have enough finances to fund them. So maintenance is one thing, that every morning the maintenance manager is listening to all the complaints. So the maintenance person is the one who is at the receiving end, from all the type of people, right from doctors and nurses, and he's the one who is going to listen to all kinds of complaints. So maintenance has to be given significant importance to keep the things flow smoothly. Then you can see on the first, you are having identification of the gap analysis, where there is a disconnect between different groups of people at different levels of hierarchy. Second, process improvement, which has to be continuous process, incremental. Okay, every day that process has to improve at least by 5%, 10%. That process should see its improvement over a period of time, and that has to be tracked regularly. So process improvement is small amount of improvement on a daily basis. The Japanese technology like Kaizen, it comes from process improvement. Then third one is implementation. So this is the area where implementation, what is not as easy as decided. Things may deviate from what kind of planning has happened. Controlling may not be as exactly as what is planned. There may be deviations. So again, you have to see how much of percentage of deviation from the original plan. There may be deviation budgets. Everything is having an impact in terms of the things what are budgeted for the next year. So and day in and day out, we should be able to know operation management consists of three things. Identifying the gap, first of all. Once you are done with identifying of the gap, which takes a significant of time in the first place. So identification of the gap itself takes a lot of time. Second thing is process improvements. Well, the once equipment and inventory is given, people are ready to chalk it out to what kind of processes are required, right from managing people, then product, the physical evidence, then how to promote those activities. So all the 7 P's are maintained along with the process. So each and every P is maintained. So a right improvement at the right time for the right number of people has to be given, because after, even before providing service when it is required, or after providing service when it is required, is of no use. At the right person for the right time, for the right, in the right place, the services have to be provided. So it is a process improvement. Then implementation. So these three are the core issues of operations inside the healthcare organizations. So let's now little bit throw light on this one. Like gap analysis is useful for all organizations to examine the running system judiciously. Nobody from outside is coming to tell us that you have to do in a certain specific way. You only have to reinvent yourself and try to understand what kind of judiciously planning of scarce resources are done. When one department wants the same thing, another department doesn't have the funds to purchase, which one has to be given predominant importance within limited number of resources. For finding out the probable areas which requires more attention is required, so that the organization becomes more dynamic, okay, to self-sustain and become self-reliable without, or self-reliant without taking assistance from other organizations, because each and every doctor knows each other. Okay, the doctor comes for a only short span of time, like let us say for a specific number of hours he may visit, but he may have other duties. He will go to other hospitals and he will provide. So what happens is, we should know where exactly things are left and where we are going to pick it from. So gap analysis is very crucial. It requires too much of attention from the managers and from the people who are in the lookout for improvements on a day-to-day basis. So second thing obviously is the process improvement. The process entails the assessment of present conditions and tally the same with the projected stage, where the hospital wants to reach in the next 5 years. How many people or how many patients does it want to treat? How many types of treatments are available? What are the rates at which the treatments are available? Okay, how to make the entire hospital system more effective, within how many hours the patient is discharged, and what is the success rate. All these things are concentrated process improvement. And finally, of course, implementation. The process of implementing the new strategy into hospital system to vanish the gaps, whatever gaps previously we have identified, it has to vanish. So the gaps, vanishing the gaps includes knowledge sharing, of course, sharing and caring, and then training, which is a biggest hurdle. So people don't have time to train each other. They assume that you already know everything. All the managers or the people who are employers, they assume that the people who have completed this course will naturally and invariably they will know. So training is one area which requires again serious attention. Next is setting of quality indicators and checking its efficiency. So implementation is where it matters the most. So gap analysis, process improvements, and implementation. Then the goals. So when we say goals, we already know so far whatever we have discussed. The private sector hospitals, which all of us in India we focus, unlike the Western countries, which they still rely on the governmental sector for taking care of the health. Okay, so private sector entrepreneurs operating healthcare facilities are focused on effectively achieving following key goals. Okay, to manage the healthcare infrastructure efficiently. The entire infrastructure has to be efficiently handled, not just the patient, but the infrastructure has to be also handled carefully. The achievement of these goals is more critical for the public healthcare sector facilities operator, given the higher percentage of public sector spending. So public sector and private sector both are involved. Okay, so there is public private partnership which has to guarantee these goals. What is the first goal of public private partnership? Improve the operational effectiveness, improve the quality of services in a time bound manner, reduce the medication errors, which people once in a while, because of the some kind of handwriting or something like that. So, medication errors, and improve clinical effectiveness. Then use business intelligence and data analytics. So, you should be good in this also. A short course in this also will go a long way in order to help you around and to stay there and regularly be stabilized in this kind of a field. Improve the financial and administrative performance inside the hospital, then reduce the readmissions. So we're not calling the same patients again and again. We have to reduce the readmissions. Okay, then he handled the outpatient department, OPD only. Then enhance the member and patient satisfaction. So we should know the NPS score, the Net Promoter Score, on a scale of 1 to 10. The patient has to be satisfactorily sent back. So patient satisfaction is also one of the goals. So all to sum it up, we have got around several goals here. Right from effectiveness, quality, reducing the errors, then improving the clinical efficiency, handling data analytics, then financial and administrative performance, reduce the readmissions, and enhance the member and patient satisfaction. In all, the healthcare goals are revolving around maintaining all these requirements. So to put it in a short way, one has to have four ways of efficiency. I don't know, I missed one But then efficiency of resource solutions implementation. Okay, so first one, efficiency of process, which we all discussed now. Efficiency of the people, which we all have been discussing since so many years, in terms of improving the people's skills, and make them multitask people. Then efficiency of technology. Okay, every now and then there is advancement of technology. You have to adapt to new technology, train them in the new technology, know all the features of the newly implemented technology. Then the efficiency of resource solutions implementation. So this is what has been known by healthcare operations efficiency. So efficiency of the process also, as we have discussed, cost and quality will determine, the number of years of experience will determine the efficiency. The more the experienced person, the more better suggestions he can give. The level of complexity has to be handled. Efficiency of the process. Second comes efficient people. Okay, so younger lot, they will be more active, they will be delivering, they will be good in communicating between each other. They will be the ones who are the forth guaranteeing the forthcoming future. So in terms of potentially daunting experiences, proactive risk mitigation levels, what type of risk a younger guy will take and what kind of risk the older guy will take, there is an enormous amount of gap in between the two. So wide recognition, shared commitment, support in resolving the required resolution. So efficient people, not only the efficient process, efficient people also, efficient technology, key success factors. Then measurement of that performance, giving awards to top performers, choosing the best employees, and able to deliver the right processes with the optimum utilization level, and efficiency of solutions implementation. So efficiency of solutions implementation, for the right time, for the right place, at the right outcome, and efficient implementation. Okay, they should be provided demonstrable ways to meet the business objectives, the mission, the vision, the goal with which the organization has started. Internally, they should be able to measure with their own successes. They don't have to compare with any other. At least they should be able to maintain the same level or better level of services than what was provided by them in the previous years. So that is known as solutions implementation. So offering ease of use for all the stakeholders. So basically, stakeholders you all know: doctors, patients, their attenders, suppliers, all the people on the working staff and employees. All these are stakeholders in running the organization, along with the government and public bodies, including the local municipal corporation. So, stakeholders, solutions, implementations, along with the related stakeholders, relationship between your hospital with all the stakeholders has to be synchronously and smooth flowing way. You have to manage and become people centric process. Okay, so one, by becoming people centric, invariably money will automatically follow its due course. The more people centric the organization is, the more chances are that it will be having its own reaping of benefits. So efficiency of solution implementation is the call for the day. Okay, having said that, I suppose there are only few number of minutes which we are having before we can take up the question and answer. So just to make a difference between how an hospital and other industries differ. Okay, very simple difference. In other industries, whether manufacturing or services, customers always come by choice. They are free to look out for. They come in a good mood actually. In other organizations, what may be the outcome and approximate cost involved also they know. What is the product they have to select, they know. So the state of mind is that of anticipation and acquiring and enjoying a benefit or a product. So they come in a way of enjoyment of products. But in hospital is a place where customers or patients do not come by choice. Okay, they are left with no choice but to come and just become available to the doctor. So they are not sure of their outcome, cost, and many times they don't have the time or ability to choose what they want. Okay, and choose the service providers. They also don't know who is the doctor who is going to treat them. The state of mind is one that of anxiety. He doesn't know who is going to take care of him. That is the main difference between a normal industry and hospital. Then, hence, the rules of the game in hospital management changes from various other sectors. Most of the time, product, services, and processes are built around the customers. But hospitals still recently are built around doctors. What is convenient for the doctor, the process have been built so far. Now slowly it is changing. The approach needs a lot of improvement in terms of becoming people centric. That's why again and again I've been telling the word about the people centric. People centric means not doctor centric. It should be patient centric, and it should be centered around all the people who are in the ecosystem of all the stakeholders involved, especially the ones who need immediate care and attention. So this approach is changing and needs a lot of improvement. So your role will be to manage the hospital. We need to understand that we are at delivering a combination of product services and above all well-being of the people. So well-being of the people has to be assured. There's no guarantee and warranty as in other industries. If you purchase a product, you can give a warranty and guarantee. What guarantee and warranty do you give unless other than giving medications and treatments? In this industry, the margin of error should be almost nil. The lesser the error, the better it is in the longer run. So this should be kept in mind while designing management systems in hospital. Hospitals are led successfully by beneficial dictatorship. Okay, to open and review the changes. So there has to be some level of discipline what is required. This means that while there should be an enforcement of management systems without exceptions, and there should be also continuous review and consensus on changes to be identified through events. So certain events trigger a sudden change in the way in which organizations function, especially when you have seen the on course of a pandemic, significantly how the hygiene has to be dealt with has been changed, how the training has to be dealt with change, how the finances have to be allocated and resources allocation has changed, how to come in touch with the other people, how to meet and greet and see it also has changed. So many things in the process have made a significant change. So it all depends upon how to emulate those changes, how to incorporate these changes in a day-to-day operations of the hotel, hospitals, and then take care of the attenders who are coming in, how to deal with them, how to allow them to take care of their own belongings, or let us say very expensive goods and things what they're coming, how much free they should be, how much of comfort level what we can provide them, what kind of a assistance we give to not only the patient but their accompanying people in an area along with the servants if they are there. All those things have to be identified through several events with certification badges, passes, and whatnot. Then the only similarity between management of hospital and other industries is the common sense with is required. So not general knowledge, but a lot of common sense is required in order to provide the services in a hospital and those compared to other industries, maybe in a retail industry or maybe whatever industry, the business which we are talking about. So these are the specific differences of introducing you to this welcoming area of growth, which is at the transition period after so many years of gaps, especially in nooks and corners of the country. There is scarcity of resources, including the manpower and the skills thereof. So this brings me to the end of our presentation today. If you got any questions on this, please feel free to click or ask the question in the chat box. Somebody is asking to share the PPT. Yes. Okay. Let me see how I can share the PPT. I have to first put it on Google Drive. case if access is not there, then I can reply to the access to give the access. Then I'll click on give access. Maybe if not tomorrow, then if not today, then tomorrow can click it on open, so that sometimes, although I have shared the link, it may not open. So I'm giving it in front of you. Anyone with the link I already made, that anyone with the link, even then, despite this, there may be errors. Don't worry. I'll again send it in my next class. I have now shared, and in the chat box you can click it. If you're not, then I can, yeah. Access has been given to all. Despite that, there may be certain errors. Yes, yes. Yeah, the question Varsha is asking, sir, what is the scope of hospital management specialization for Masters of Pharmacy students? Now, you are going, you are asking the question from a specific point of view of the pharmacy students, means he is already specialized. So let me be very specific. Like pharmacy is a part of the hospital. It's not. It is a subset of hospital, you can say. So people who are already done pharmacy, they are integral to the hospital. They cannot be said that they have to come to the administrative post. But despite that, those who have done pharmacy and then doing this MBA, they have a little amount of additional skills of multitasking in terms of planning, organizing, understanding HR, day-to-day administrative tasks, then supply chain management, inventory, what we have just now discussed. And pharmacy students, definitely they are coming from the science background, and it is left to you whether you want to, be a specialist in your life or a journalist in your life. It's like a team, in an Indian cricket team. If somebody asks that a batsman has to be a captain, whether it's possible, not necessary. Everybody doesn't have to become a captain. Okay, it's like that. You can be remaining as a batsman throughout the life, and still, go ahead with the thing. So like that, it is a question essentially which boils down to two things: whether you want to become a specialist pharmacy student by doing B.Pharm or M.Pharm, or you want to become a journalist, whereby you are handling the entirety of administrative functions, and that's how. Then the scope after MD pharmacology. Of course, there is a lot of demand for MD pharmacology and post MBBS in developing countries. You may have to appear for, in case if you want to go abroad, then you have to appear for the respective countries' examinations. India itself wants a lot of doctors. For nursing, definitely in developing countries, there are a lot of scope for nursing, especially there is a shortage of physical, assistant physicians. So far India has been having doctors, but there's a lot of gap in the sense there is a lot of people. There's another set of hierarchy actually in the entirety, right from the doctors who are at the top and the nurses. There is in between, the people are missing. So this gap between the doctors and the nurses, that gap can be filled by MBA students in healthcare operations, because the entirety of growing these hospitals is come of age of 10 years before, or 15 years. So mostly, yeah, somebody is telling mostly CEO, medical superintendent, medical director are the scope post MBBS. Yeah, I mean, see, to be MBBS, to be very sure, they won't get time much of the time. There is a scarcity of doctors. No, having said that, it will add, even despite having MBBS, if you add an MBA to your qualifications, definitely it will enable you to um, give your personal touch of how exactly the entire operation has to be. But more or less, the doctors are more focused towards patient and treating them rather than management issues. They are more toward the science side, handling the details of how specifically the things have been taken care of. Eventually, they are the lot earners. They are earning. They can earn a lot, but then having an MBA gives the added qualifications. No, nobody said that the MBBS should not have a MBA. But then some are, they are already at a higher stage. Why would they do unless they want to start their own hospital? Is this degree sufficient to eligibility to work globally in the field of hospital management? Yeah, this is, see, anybody say, given an opportunity to do MBA in healthcare operations, it need not be necessary that first of all that you have to come from a BSc or a BTech or a science background. Even as commoner as the the commerce student or a BBA student, or any normal student, you can say, um, he can also know the intricacies of how to run a hospital. So because it's more of administrative duties, it's more of finances, it's HR, it's supply chain management, it's more to do with hospital rather. So people who are in pharmacy, they are already a step ahead. It's good that you will have an added feather in your cap, that you will have an additional qualification of MBA. People who are coming from science background like pharmacology or MBBS or nursing, they already have their basis. You have laid the foundation in your areas. The same thing may not have been laid by a BCom guy or a graduate of BBA or any other. Let's say an architect does this one. Okay, people who has done is BTech has done this MBA. Anybody can do this MBA in healthcare operations. It's not restricted that only a specific guy who's restricted to particular field of specialty has to be given this impetus, because there is really a dearth. There is a challenge, actually speaking. Hospitals are not that profit making. I mean, if you do a little bit of research, you will identify that some hospitals are unable to reach the profit level, especially because there is this gap which is not filled by doctors and pharmacists alone and nurses alone. All the three people put together, even doctors, nurses, pharmacists, all the three are unable to solve this problem. This problem has to be assured and solved by only people who are there in the management team. And when you progress, everybody is going there. Everybody someday or the other can become a CEO or MD of a particular organization, the hospital. Okay, whether you do an MBBS to reach the managing director, or you become a chartered accountant and become a managing director, or you become a pharmacist to become a managing director of an organization, that is left to an individual. That's an individual question pertaining to what you have done or what you have studied previously. It's not a generalized question. It is meant for only you. If you are interested, then you have to do. Yeah. Catherine is asking, is this degree sufficient to eligibility globally? Yes. In various countries, these degrees are admired. They are in fact, because of the demographics of India, we have excessive population in India. People of other countries do not have that much of population. They need people who want to run in NHS in England, in national health schemes, and there are service sectors. People of Indian origin, they are going England, USA, Canada, everywhere in the Middle East and everything. So I'm asking about global eligibility means certain countries have other entry exams. Obviously, say it is left. Say when you say a certain specific country, it is left to that country whether it imposes those restrictions when you apply or in the process of application, because MBBS itself is a very having its own constraints. People in India, those who do MBBS, they can't practice in US unless they appear for their exams. But for the type of questions that you are posing me, that whether for administrative duties also one has to appear for those examinations, there are certifications in those specific countries where you want to apply. So that is the uh, debatable issue as to which country you have to take what kind of certifications. It's not necessary unless and until you decide, um, for let's say 2 years you're working in a specific country, then you go to another country. Obviously the rules of another country will change. First of all, you should be very focused as to what country you're going, whether you know the language of that country, whether you obtain a certification, at least 6 months certification in that country in order to go for a global eligibility, like superintendent or medical or assistant or PROs. But this is a more or less public relation function. Okay, a function which is more of administrative nature. I don't think it requires so much of sophistication and exams as we find it in India. We are used to entrance examination. That doesn't mean that the entire world is used for entrance examinations. Okay, there are opportunities, yeah, which you may have to explore, because things are changing and people can move from one country to another country. But every now and then, people are moving. For every 3 years, people are moving from one country to another country. It all depends upon the country, whether the country is allowing it or not. Hospitals are allowing. Now, in case of US, the country government is not allowing. Hospitals of US are allowing. So there is a debatable issue. So certain organizations are allowing, certain governments are not allowing. The government is creating a little bit of hindrance in terms of allowing certain specific profiles to be selected. So that's how the governments function in various countries. Yeah. Anyway, I hope the majority of the doubts which have been asked, the raised, have been addressed. Thank you, one and all.